Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Govind sir, Sadanand sir, and Ajay sir. And I solicit my heartfelt thanks to the juniors or our first year students of MBA. Right. First of all, I need to tell you, let's say, what is the reason behind conducting such lectures. I need to tell you, first of all, this session is a part of Impact Lecture Series that is directed and sponsored by Ministry of Education. Innovation and entrepreneurship are on the peak. And in order to develop such developmental movement, Ministry of Education and AICT have come together and they are trying to build such an ecosystem to foster innovation and entrepreneurship in the higher education institutions. So this lecture is a part of the Impact Lecture series. And now the question comes, what should be the orientation of the students behind attending such sessions? What set of ideas should be in their minds? First of all, you should understand what how I can spot the opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship, and how I can use these opportunities in future to build the organizational setups. Besides that, what are the burgeoning dimensions in the field of innovation, like clean tech innovation, robotics, waste management practices, and agricultural innovations? So with such understanding, you will be attending such sessions and you will be using such type of the understanding in the upcoming academic session. In this MBA program, you will be having 3 independent courses, which will be based on the innovation and entrepreneurial developmental thoughts. So my dear students, I request to all of you, please listen the lecture very carefully, as it is going to help you a lot in coming 2 years. And if you have certain queries and questions, you can put in the chat box, and we have the learned person and the expert in the IPR, Mr. Govind Kedia, with us. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal, for having me here. And good morning, friends, and good morning, Dr. Sadanand, Dr. Sheetal, Dr. Ajay, and Swati. So thank you for having me here. Before I start, I want to kind of set up a bit of a rules of engagement. What I always do when I start my lecture is to let's be more kind of participative, more interactive. It's a virtual session, so please use your chat box. I think if I request host to kind of allow chats if it is not allowed. So please use your chat box, and I would like to keep it fairly interactive. I know it's a topic which may sound a little boring also, right? Intellectual property, patent, trademark, and all that. And but let's do a quick check. There are 134 people. Okay, I have been a student as well, right? I'm an engineer by background. I also done my MS, so I know most of the time we are forced to come into this lecture, right? Let's be honest here, right? Now on the chat box, why don't you type and write just to check, just to start the lecture with fun. Are you coming by force or by choice? So if you are coming by force, write force. If you're coming by choice, write choice. I just want to see, just start interacting. So just use a chat box and write choice or force. Okay, nice. I'm sure I can assure you, if you write by force, I'm sure Dr. Sheeta will not note down your name. So so good. I can see a lot of choices, not very much force. So that's really a relief for me, because most of the times when I go to academic institutes, I kind of find people who are coming by force. So I'm really blessed to have to a place where a lot of people of you are coming by choice, because it makes more session more interactive, more fruitful for all of us. Kind of gives a return on investment of our time. Right, time is the most expensive entity nowadays, right? So let's start there, right? And I will keep on using chat boxes for kind of interact with you, ask you questions, check how things are going on. You can also post your questions. I keep it. I have 2 screens, so I can look at one or the other screen to kind of look at your questions. So during my lecture, during my session, if you have any questions, you want me to slow down, just feel free to type in there. I'll try to pick those questions up, and happy to be answering those while I do that, right? So of course, I will be talking about how to build an innovative organization and use IPR for its growth. It's a very vast topic. So I'll probably touch upon, what are the various aspects of it. I'll, you know, in 1 hour, I may not be able to make you that kind of manager who can like make this organization, but the idea is to give you some directions to think about it, right? And as you go in your corporate lives, you may or may not come in these situations, but you should be aware that okay, what IP is, what kind of IPRs are. So that is the whole intent of the session today, right? And in case, of course, if you have any questions around okay, where to read more about it, I'll be happy to answer those as well. All right, so very quick introduction. I'll not spend a lot of time. So this is my LinkedIn profile link. You can always go there, read about my journey and read about how I come to this industry. I'm an engineer by background, so I've been in the industry since 2006-7, and I worked with a few multinational companies, and then started on my own with a few partners based in UK and Finland. And so we have held more than 500 companies. So currently we are around 70 plus people in Noida, in UK and Finland. So we have a fairly decent amount of people around helping a lot of companies around their IP and helping them build an innovative organization. I am really passionate about startups. So some of you may go to work for startup or can go and start startups. So I'm always available to help startup and startup founders. So always happy to always feel free to reach out in case I can be of any help. And of course, my mantra is always innovate fiercely and invent fearlessly. Right? That means you have to innovate fast, and when you invent, you should be fearless in inventing. Right? So that's about very brief about me. Now let's think about what is IP. A lot of times, you hear about patents, trademarks, you hear about IPR, you hear about intellectual property, you hear about intellectual capital. These are so many terms which are sometimes become fancy in a kind of environment, right? You kind of tend to get confused. What does it really mean, right? So this slide is kind of this is where we'll talk about okay, what is it really means, right? So let's look at property, right? What is property? Property are kind of two types. One is tangible, that you can touch and feel. One is intangible, right? So it's kind of very clear distinction. One you can touch, one you can't touch, right? Now intangible, there are two buckets, like movable, immovable, right? You have something you can touch. Is it movable or is it immovable, right? So that's fairly easy, right? It's a piece of land, or it's a piece of it's a car, or it's something which you can always make a distinction, right? Now intangible are something which you can't touch, right? But still there, it is very valuable. It's like your kind of a degree. It's kind of a skills or whatever you think about it, right? You can't really touch it, but it is there, right? So for example, if you have a lease or a security, right? It is on a paper, but it's an intangible thing, right? Then your emotions and goodwill, whatever you attach to a certain brand, certain people, certain things. This is again, something you can't touch. Then it comes mind, something which comes from your mind, right? And mind can generate a lot of different things, right? It could be technology. It could be like brand name. So of course I'm limiting it to a bit of a business scenarios here. So technology means, for example, Wi-Fi, right? So while iPhone is a movable, tangible property, but within that there is a technology which you can't touch, like Wi-Fi or whatever, right? So technology. Then the brand name again, it's something like, okay, iPhone, you call it iPhone or Paytm or whatever. So it's something that you use to identify. It is again coming from your brain, coming from your mind. Then there are designs, right? Which is coming again, of course, the expression will happen in tangible world, but it is coming from your mind, right? So of course, one can argue that, okay, ornamental design can be touched. No, but when you're thinking about it, that is again, that's a creation of mind, right? So for example, a new kind of chair, if you go to mall and look at the chairs and furniture shop, you see very peculiar designs of chairs, right? That of course is a creation of mind, right? Again, that is that has been generated by your intellectual capacity or so, right? Then there are very interesting areas like, if you think about like basmati rice, if you think about Kolhapuri chappal, if you think about Ratnagiri aam, if you think about uh, different things which originate from a certain place and earn a name and a goodwill for them, right? There are many things in India, in the world, like French wine. I mean, champagne again. It's like one of the particular region in France where they kind of make champagnes, right? So, and then of course creative work and art and code. So whatever you design and like your songs, videos, anything which is kind of expression of creative work, right? Now that is something we'll be calling as creative codes, right? Okay, so then you think about, okay, now if you think about it, now I have a technology, I have a brand name, I have an ornamental design, we have a place in goodwill, creative arts and codes, but how to protect it, right? I mean, it's sometimes very valuable, right? And how to protect it, right? And that is where whole bunch of law and techno legal things come in, right? So technology is protected by patents, right? A lot of times I have seen people getting confused with, I want to patent my brand name, right? That is again, if you are going in a corporate world and going to be kind of in the professional, you have to really understand what is used when, right? So that is also very important to understand that technology is protected by way of patents. So technology means very simple, means that anything that you solve which is a technical problem, not a business problem, using your intellectual capacity, right? So for example, if you have solved, say, there was a time when internet was very slow, right? It was particularly like 15-20 kbps or 256 kbps. You can't even imagine our life right now without 1 mbps or 2 mbps of connection, right? So of course the technology has moved, right? The problem they have solved is that how to carry more data in the lesser bandwidth, right? So for that there has been a lot of innovations around codecs, how to compress the data, how to decompress the data, and so forth, right? So those becomes technology piece, right? And that is protected by patents, right? Now, trademark, again, brand name. I think a lot of us are really driven by brands and thinking about, okay, I want to buy that Gucci dress or Gucci purse or Zara cut dress and all that, right? Or Paytm. Think about it. We are really surrounded by brand names, right? And it's very important to protect that. There has to be a framework which kind of allows people to creatively produce that kind of different names, spend on marketing, right? That's how the marketing folks will get jobs, right? Because then unless there is a fear that if I do the marketing and somebody else will copy it, then what's the point, right? So that is why a trademark comes in the picture, that okay, there is a legal way to protect your brand names, protect your brand identity as such, right? Then the ornamental design, like I have invented or I have created something which is new. Like for example, I created a vehicle which is very unique in a way. Like for example, you look at a certain car, a certain bike, you feel, yeah, it looks amazingly good, right? So there is nothing technical about it, but it just looks very good, right? So what you would want to do is to ensure that nobody copies that, right? So that is also, you can also protect your designs by filing a certain design application and so forth, right? Then it comes the place of goodwill. For example, there are, like I said, a lot of things are originated from a certain place with a certain skill set, and that's where the geographical indications come in. So generally, a community registers as geographical indications like Kolhapuri chappal, or I've given so many examples around it, right? So that's where geographical indications come in. Copyrights again, when a person expresses their songs or videos, even codes. So you can copyright codes, right? When you are writing very good code, you feel that, okay, for an organization especially, when you kind of go in an organization and think about, okay, what can I do to protect my code from stealing or somebody moving on from the company, what can I do? So you can register a copyright around it, right? So that's how you kind of intervene in, kind of use this as a tool for your organizational benefit. Whenever you go in an organization, think about, okay, what is it that important for the company? What is it that they're doing? Can we do something to protect it? Right? So that's the first step, right, to protect it. Right? And then this is one of the very important distinction that we need to learn is what is intellectual property and what is intellectual property rights. It's simple, like rights is something which is registered with the government authority, right? IP is something which is intellectual property, right? So for example, in a very fun way, your parents' money is your property, or is your kind of, you feel that, okay, I own that. But unless you have a right on a paper, you can't, you really don't have that, right? So that's how you keep this in your mind in a very fun way, that while companies may have these things, but unless they register it, that really does not prove the ownership of that technology or the brand name or a design or a code or whatever, right? So that's how the system works, right? Any questions so far? Okay, so if the student has developed business plan regarding one technological application, guide us whether the student can go for patent registration or not. Does he need to develop MVP or prototype? Okay, so one thing very important, that for filing a patent or a trademark or design, it is not necessarily that you have to really create a prototype in the real world. It's okay if you are in a concept stage and you are just about to get to the starting, right? And then see, business plan or business methods are not really protectable. So think about it. Online shopping, can anyone stop online shopping as a business, right? Probably not, right? Amazon is doing, Flipkart is doing, Meesho is doing, a lot of companies are doing. So business plan, so always detach the business problem and the technical problem. So Dr. Sheetal, in your question, if there is a business plan and then there is a technological application, now what you need to think about in that technical application, what was the technical problem was solved? For example, okay, it was not possible to communicate the data within 5 seconds or 2 seconds using current technology. So the student has developed certain algorithm, certain way to kind of do it. That becomes a patentable matter, right? Then what is the name of that application? How you are going to go ahead and market that? What is the code written for copy, which was unique, like, what was not open source, what was something that the student has written on his own. So then they can go for a copyright protection to kind of protect that code, so that nobody copies that and all that. So that's how you kind of look at this, that business method and business plans are not really something that you can protect by law, because if you do that, then big companies will always close every sort of opportunity that you can't really sell and purchase, right? So business method or business plan, maybe the written text can be copyrighted, but again, that will not help in a real manner. I hope it answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Actually, I have two queries.
Sure.
One student of ours, Mr. Satyam Singh, is with us, and his, he has developed one web application for food, right? Online food delivery, like Zomato and Swiggy. So his business model is quite different, and he's going to commercialize his business very soon. He has all the things done, and Ministry of Education is giving us one platform, that Yukti 2.0. Now it is turned into Yukti 3.0, and we have registered his innovation under Yukti. and we are waiting because it's under review. So we were a bit confused. Can we go for patent or something like that? Because it's commercialized, right? From December, I think he's going to start his business.
Sure.
Most of things are done. From your discussion, I'm getting that it can't be patented. The written text can be copyrighted, whatever uniqueness has been done by the student. One another project that was based on the technology used for waste management. One device is going to be prepared by the student, so that can be
Yes.
that can be considered as a technological innovation
Yes,
and
yes.
is patentable.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So what we need to identify that what is the new thing that they have done, right?
Okay.
What is in the device that they have done? What is it that they have done new, right? Let me give you a very, very quick example. So I hope everybody has seen recently that government is saying that there is certain chemical which has been produced by ICAR. If you put it on the, to reduce the air pollution, farmers need not to burn the subtle that is produced by the produce of the farms, right? Now that particular chemical, if it is something which is unique combination or something which is unique, that can be patented for sure, right? Or let's say if they come up with a kind of a machine which processes those husks and farm waste in a certain manner. Of course, what we need to do is what we need to identify is that what is unique about it and then protect it via patent, right? It's not that software cannot be patented. I mean, I also want to kind of, with this food delivery app also, right? For example, in your food delivery app, you come up with a certain algorithm, which again, hypothetically speaking, which kind of helps the delivery executive to plan the delivery in a very, very different, unique manner, right? Which kind of helps him to, and it uses a lot of different machine learning algorithms and use certain different ways to kind of do this calculations, and kind of, you say, some sort of technological innovation has done there that can be explored for patent. I'm not saying it will get the patent, it can be explored for patents, right? That can be file a patent around it, right? So that's something we can do there.
Like that, if the delivery boy can be trapped, like you develop an algorithm like RFID system, where actually you can recognize or you can identify where is that delivery boy now, okay, sure, in which place.
Yeah,
I think that way also you can calculate the time at
yes,
what time
yes,
actually it is expected.
So yeah, something that is kind of helping using a hardware. I mean, of course, currently it is used by GPS and all that, but again, I'm just proposing that it's always good to explore that and think about what is the unique aspect about the business, right? See, what you need to protect is the unique part of the business, right? Not really everything. So that's how it works, right? All right, let's move forward. Any more questions, or I can move forward?
No, please.
No, sir, you
forward.
can. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, now it's a fun question for all the MBA students. Okay, tell me what makes business enterprise. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 components to in my kind of way, but okay, now there are 147 students. Okay, tell me what is a business enterprise. What is this equation? I have whole day. Don't worry. I'll wait for your question. So don't worry. I'm kind of a stubborn, kind of speaker. So I'll stay. If I don't get answers, I'll just not move forward. So go ahead and type in. What makes business enterprise? You should ask. You think about it. What makes a business enterprise? Okay, Abhinav says land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. Okay, interesting. Very, very good. Okay, what next? What else? What else people think? Capital, material, knowledge, returns. Okay. Investing, innovation, idea, implementation, knowledge about the project, finance, and patience. Okay. Setting up business. Okay. So infrastructure. Shubham, does only infrastructure make the business? What is infrastructure? Money, method, machine, material, idea plus capital plus implementation. Good behavior with customers, with employees. Deepak, that will not only that will make a business enterprise, right? Innovation, capital, land, labor, exchange of goods and services in order to make profit. Yeah, that's the basic concept of business. What makes a business enterprise? That's the question. Manpower, capital, finance, team, capital plus SWOT analysis plus planning plus money minded is equal to business. Understanding of a problem, giving solution to a problem. Capital, human resources, business plan, and land. Okay, joint venture, trust. All right. Finance, intellect, data. Capital planning, workplace, team. Okay, most of you are correct. I mean, in a way that what we can see that okay, these are the components of the business, right? The way there are some basic rules. There are something which are basically involved in the business, right? But the question is that okay, what makes business enterprise in order to make it real, right? So first is working capital. Like some of you has already said that, inventory, cash, account receivable, paisa, right? That's of course it's very very important. Then you need fixed assets. Even your laptop is a fixed asset. Right, offices, machineries, and all that, right? So you need some sort of fixed asset, right? Then you need intangible assets. A lot of you has talked about entrepreneurs mindset and these things, right? Value proposition, business model, and all that, right? So these are intangible assets. You can't really touch it, right? Capital probably you can. I mean, in the cash form you can probably touch it, right? But think about it, that one of the most important thing is people skill. Some of you said entrepreneur, team, and all that, right? Value proposition, the business model, the network, the licenses, the customer, regulatory clearances. In some businesses, it is the most important thing, right? Code, software, business model. And then the intellectual property, right? Patents, trademark, copyright, designs, formula, trade secrets. Secrets is also very, very important sometimes, right? Now, according to all of you, which is the most important in today's business scenario, which is the most important component of a business enterprise? Looking at the business scenarios today. Skills, people skills, last two, customer, marketing, problem solving ideas. Yeah, that's there. I mean, what I'm asking is, okay, according to you, in these four buckets that I have presented, which is the most important asset, or what is important for business enterprise these days? Is capital very important? Is fixed asset important? What is important? Yeah. Nitesh, customer satisfaction is part of intangible asset, right? You can't really touch this satisfaction, right? Intangible assets, right? Okay. I think most of you are right there. So intangible assets and intellectual property is very, very important for a business. Now, I'll talk about it, but let me check. Okay, what percentage? Here's the question very, very carefully, right? What percentage of a business enterprise? What percentage of intellectual asset and intellectual property? So let's say if the business enterprise is worth 100 million, in your view, what is the major value factor? How much percentage is the value factor? So for 20%, 30%, 40%. So intangible asset and intellectual property, how much percent it contributes in the business valuation? 60, 30, 55, 40, 50 each, 75, 50, 40, 50, 80, 70, 60, 60, 40. Okay, everybody kind of stayed in the middle to be safe, right? but the reality is that in many firms, if you look at a lot of stock research or whatever, many firms really don't have any contribution from working capital, fixed assets, They're just intangible assets and intellectual property. Look at Zomato and a lot of different companies, right? I mean, they don't have any fixed asset as such in terms of infrastructure. Everything is like their ideas, their people, their network, their customers, their data, right? So 90 to 100% of many firms are just intangible assets and intellectual property, right? And that is where the market is moving right now. So this is very important. So I hope everybody understood what is intellectual property, intangible asset / capital, and intellectual property, right? So these are not equal, right? This is one of the important distinction that you need to understand. I think that is major takeaway I would like to kind of cover till now, that when you think about it, when you talk about it, you should be very clear what you are talking about, right? Is it clear? Now everybody agrees that intellectual property, intangible asset, capital, intellectual property rights are not equal. There is always a relationship, but these are not similar or same terms. These are not synonyms. Is it clear to everyone? Yes, no? Okay, great. All right, so these are, of course, business function. Now, extending our discussion, you think about, I'm sure, a lot of you would be fitting in somewhere. You would be doing some specialization in these areas, right? Now, when you think about your specialization areas and wherever you are thinking, now think about what kind of intangible capital, intangible assets would be there. What kind of intellectual property can be generated, right? And that's how you kind of build an innovative organization, right? That is the major sensitization that we wanted to do, right? That even if you don't do any further discussion, it is something very, very important for you to understand that in all these functions, there will always be something which is important for the company, which needs protection, which needs some care and some nurturing to be able to build the organization to the next level, right? So this is something you can also think about when you are doing your specializations, and think about your areas of thesis or whatever, that okay, how R&D can really maximize intangible assets, or how it can generate more effectively intangible intellectual property and so forth. How quality can, what are the important aspects of quality function and so forth, right? What is important in sales and marketing, right? Sales and marketing may have call scripts, brand names, how the marketing is done, some methods. They may not be protected under law, right? But that data are very, very important for the organization itself, right? So this is one of the again, a kind of a help or guiding principles for identifying intangible assets, intellectual capital in the company. These are some of the examples how what kind of intellectual property business own. Not everything can be capital, not everything can be registered under law, but this is kind of a list of various things which are really important for the company, which drives the value of the company, right? Like know-how, inventions, formulas, processes, softwares, and so forth, right? So this is again, you can think about, and each of these items is a subject in itself, right? How to manage customer list, how to generate customer list, how to protect the customer list, right? Every aspect of this can be a detailed discussion or detailed thesis kind of material, right? So of course, it's just for your reference to think about that how it is important for a business, right? Now, what I was saying about 90% of the market cap of intangible assets, and this is proven by research, right? And this is again, one of the visualization that has been done, that this is kind of that most of the organization in today's world, 90% of their value is by way of patents, brand value, customer data, softwares, right? Think about it. I mean, Zomato is more valuable than lot of brick and mortar company in India, right? Look at if some of you are stock market or company enthusiast, you would understand that Zomato is more valuable than some of the most respected brands in India, right? Why? And they're a loss-making company, or may have making some very little profit, right? Because of their brand value, customer data, their software, their the kind of longevity of the idea and the way they are disrupting the whole market and all that, right? So again, this is something which is very important for you all as you will go in the organization, that most of you would be working in managing these 90% of company's value. Not very few of you will go in the management of buildings and equipments, cash and bonds, inventory and land, right? I mean, these are typical example of tangible assets, right? Business are nowadays not owning a lot of these, right? So that's how it is. All right. So, and of course, with the globalization, it has increased a lot. Most of the global companies are coming in India, setting up shops. Again, they drive using their know-how, their softwares, their data, their, look at Google, look at Facebook and everyone, how they are able to kind of, Amazon is classic example, right? How they have come and people thought that Flipkart would be able to kick them back. But, Amazon really took everyone based on their algorithm, based on their supply chain, learnings and what they can establish as an infrastructure, right? So that's the power of the intellectual property and the intellectual capital as such. So that's about it. What is importance? I mean, why people do this registration? Why why people do it, right? So of course, it prevents imitation. That's first and foremost. That you don't want to have people copying your brand or trademark or your kind of designs and so forth, right? Then for marketing folks, it's a very good tool. I kind of love it when a lot of marketing labels or marketing campaigns say, hey, this patent is patented technology and so forth, right? So that's very important, for the marketing side as well. It creates a positive perception in the eyes of customer that it is a truly innovative product and so forth. It attracts investment because a lot of investors find it very safe to invest in a company where their intellectual property is safe. It also helps in generating licensing deals. A lot of companies, I don't know if you know, but Microsoft used to make, I think they have reduced it now, but they used to make a lot more money from Android phones because of their licensing deal with Google on their patents, right? I mean, they used to make almost billions or billions of dollars for just by licensing their patent to Android devices. So Microsoft has not really lost the smartphone game. They've actually also gained a lot of money by invisibly playing the smartphone game. So they did make a lot of money. Qualcomm is one of those companies who make a lot of money for every smartphone because of the technology and so forth, right? So Dr. Sheetal, kindly explain the benefits of IPRs and copyright from students if they're able to get treatment. Again, it's a very subjective questions. See, again, everything has to be looked in the view of business. While you can register your copyrights, patents, and trademarks while you are in the education and building your career, but then you have to really identify what is it that you are going to use it for, right? For example, if somebody is going to start a startup or they have written a certain code and they want to have a validation, again, it costs money. All these patents, trademarks, copyrights will cost some money depending on what is the complexity of the matter is. But then again, what I always suggest that if there is certain material which is generated during the academic tenure of a student, which may have a commercial exploitation opportunity, like for example, certain code or a certain technology or a certain piece of content or certain, which eventually will generate some money for the student, definitely I would recommend to do some copyrights or patents or trademark just to validate those ownership and also put it in the form of business agreements. Otherwise, while it is very tempting to get this as a validation exercise, it may not really generate a lot of kind of revenues and so forth, right? So Even for colleges, we do recommend to file patents, but again, they have to really look at what is the end goal of a certain IPR that they are doing, right? If it is helping in a certain manner or helping them, do some more deals with corporates and so forth and so forth. Right? So that's what my recommendation would be to this question. All right, so this was about the importance of IP. I hope Dr. Sheetal answers the question. If not, then please feel free to chat, put your comment on the chat.
Yes, sir. Please.
All right. So now we don't have a lot of time. We have 20 minutes or so since we started at 12:10. So I'll just quickly cover up what is the process. So typically, trademark process is very, very simple. Typically, it works within a week. That you first identify your brand name, identify whether it is available for, it's like a domain name registration also sometimes, that you come up with a name like, okay, I want to register Coca-Cola, right? But Coca-Cola is already taken by Coca-Cola, right? So, so then you have to really, identify the unique name for your business. Then you can go ahead and file this application with the trademark authority, which is Indian Patent Office. And then typically within few months, either you will receive a rejection for some reasons, or you will receive a acceptance from the trademark office, and then you will register a trademark. Now, one thing very, very important, that there is no universal trademark. A lot of people think about, I want to worldwide protect my trademark, worldwide protect my patent. There's nothing called as worldwide. These are territorial sovereign right, which is given by the government. So in whatever country you are planning to do business, you have to go ahead and do the trademark filings within those countries and within those territories. So this is not a one process which covers everything. So this is kind of a very, very high level process of trademark. Then for patent, it's a bit of a complicated techno-legal process. It's expensive at times, but again, within 3 to 4 weeks, you can file your patent if you have a clear idea of what you have done technically new. Then in the 12 months, there is a treaty between different countries that within 12 months, you can file your application in those countries, taking the same application, and they will consider the date when you filed in the local country and so forth, right? And then it's a process where it's a back and forth process. So once you file with the patent office, then they will send some objections. You have to respond to that objection, go back and forth with them, and get your patent. So that's about the patent filing process on a very, very high level. I'm not going in detail in the interest of time. But again, if there is any specific question, you have heard something and you are not clear about it, please feel free to type in on the chat box. I will try to answer that in the. Is there any limitation in taking trademark? See, there are various classes in trademarks, which is defined on the business area. For example, let's say if you are producing a pharmaceutical product and you are using that brand to a certain name to brand or market that, and I use that same name to market a vehicle, let's say an electric bike or scooter, I can also have that right on that name in a different category. So trademark are generally driven by different category. I'll try to talk about it very briefly during the next course of presentation. I have a small slide there, but that is there. What is the process to register a company? So again, this is separate from register a company. Company can be registered with registrar of the company, MCA, which is the Ministry of Commerce and Affairs. So you need to find a CA, or you can go ahead and do your own. There are certain documentation that you can do it, and then you can register a company, right? What is about the faster process to register IPR? So Dr. Sheetal, when you say IPR, I'm considering patent, design, and trademark. For patents, there is an option that if you are a startup registered company, which is a Government of India initiative, you can fast track your patent by paying a certain fee. Trademark is already very fast. I mean, within 2-3 months, you can expedite your whole process. So that anyways there. Siddhant, what if the trademark is abandoned? Yes, you can re-register it trademark unless somebody comes after you and oppose that. So if there is a trademark which has been used in 1960s and no longer is used today, and you want to reuse that brand or name, you can go ahead and do it. There's no problem with that. It's sometimes like a domain name also, like that, you can go ahead and use it unless that owner of that brand comes after and say, hey, you can't do that. So that's there. All right. So yeah, startups, you can, again, as I said, you can pay certain fees, put a certificate, you can expedite the whole process of filing or expediting the process of patent, and you also get a discount. Is patent one-time process or we need to renew it sometime period of time? Okay. Yeah. So once the patent is granted, it's like you have to pay an insurance fee, like an annuity fees, we call it. You have to pay every year to the patent office to kind of maintain your rights. So that is there. Okay, so if you are planning to hospitality business, what is the process? Process is very simple. I'll probably share in the end how to search for a trademark and how to search for a patent. But typically, you go to a trademark attorney or a company. You suggest that, hey, we want to register this trademark. Can you please help us with it? They will send you kind of or suggest you whether it is available or not. They will charge a certain fee and they will get it done. So typically, it's a very, very straight away process, Sakshi, to do it. Of course, the important aspect is that whether it is available or not, what class it will fall in. Again, you go with trademark specialist, but again, you can do it on your own. It's very, very simple. You can Google out trademark class and then you will do it. In case a lot of you have a lot of interest around trademark, you can go on arcticinvent.com blog. We have put up a recent article on trademark process. It has almost everything on the trademark, how to search, how to identify, and everything. You want to start this with Sigma, but you can start with Sigma, or you can. Okay. So again, Deepak, it is a very one specific question. Sometimes, so trademark office discourages that Sigma. If it is a well-known trademark, you cannot use Sigma. You cannot use similar names, similar sounding names. So let's say if there is a Coca-Cola with C and you start to register with K, Coca-Cola, K with a Coca-Cola, then that's not allowed. I mean, again, you have to look at the phonetically similarity of those things as well, right? So that again is not allowed as such. But again, you have to look at whether Sigma is available in the class, right? In the certain class where you are starting the business with. So again, it's a bit of a question which you have to probably discuss with the trademark people to kind of get more details on. But again, I invite you to read arcticinvent.com blog on the trademark process. You can easily find it under the blog. I think that will answer your question to some extent as well. All right, design process, again, very, very simple. Same as trademark, you just have to come up with your design, different views, and then you can register a design. Design is usually granted for something which you can touch and feel. For example, your chairs or whatever you can think of as a bottle or anything which you can touch and feel, right? So that's there for designs. As I was saying, trademark classification is the way the documents or trademarks are arranged, right? I wanted to have a very, very quick discussion or show you around. This is also an indicator of industry as such, right? India has a very sound pharmaceutical industry. So as you can see that in India, trademark in pharmaceutical is a lot of it because it's a very pharma friendly market. It's a very large industry sector as well, right? So while in India it is top 1, in world over it's like on the 6th, right? Advertising, like is the second top most business area. So what I'm trying to show you here that trademark and industry activities go hand in hand. IP is not really far away from the business scenarios in India, right? So this is, again, I'll not spend much time on this. I'll just quickly just wanted to show you that how it really trademarks and industry is kind of very related in that, right? These are some of the examples, right? So yeah, and then of course trademark leads to licensing revenues, right? I mean, think about all these characters and all these, they make a lot of money with these brands, and so fashion makes a lot of brand revenues. So for example, when you go and buy a Marvel product, Disney makes a lot of money for that, right? So it's a very big industry, that runs in billions and billions, which is where IP comes as a major factor for doing that. These are some of the top licensors. I mean, think about these companies and think about the products that you are using, right? And you will see they are somewhere there, right? So Pokemon, Walt Disney, these are the top licensors. They make a lot of money by licensing out their trademarks, brands, and their names and so forth, right? And that's a huge business, right? Of course, this is a fun picture. I mean, a patent is a very crowded space. I'm sure people also face this in the real world when we are studying. But anyways, these are some of the number of patents in the various technologies around the world, right? It's a very crowded space where people have filed millions and millions of patents. For the patent, it has to be, the basic requirement is that it has to be absolutely new. Nobody in the world should have known about whatever you have invented, right? So it always goes in a very complicated technical analysis. That's where mostly engineers with certain understanding of law works in this space. For example, like company like ours, where we have mostly engineers who kind of go in details and kind of do the analysis of patents and so forth, right? So that's about just to give a sense of what is the field of technology where the patents are filed most. Yeah. Again, this is in India. This was in the worldwide thing. So again, patent is also something which generates a lot of licensing. This is pretty old. Of course, Nokia, while still makes a lot of money on their patents, whatever is left with Nokia, but these are some of the top companies who make a lot of money by just licensing out their technologies and patents, right? These are the top companies who hold the LTE, which is the technology standard for using mobile phones, 5G and 4G. They make a lot of revenues by licensing out their technology. So every phone that we kind of produced, they make a lot of money by licensing out their patent rights and so forth, right? These are some of the universities who made a lot of money by producing certain more commercialized research. So for example, Northwestern University, Rochester for vaccine, Stanford University, which was the which really is the father for Google in a way, right? Who is saving all our lives now. I think we should contribute 50% of our academic success to Google, right? So, or maybe more. So of course that was coming out of university itself, right? So, and they made a lot of money out of that invention and kind of these things, right? So again, in the pharma industry, patents play a major role. As the patent gets expired, the copy drugs, which we call generics, come in the market, and that really affects the revenues of the pharma companies, right? So that is where it is very important in the pharma industry. These are some of the royalties. Royalty means that if you are licensing out your patent, generally in these technology space, you get to have this much of revenue given as a royalty. So for example, in the aerospace, if I have licensed out my technology to an aerospace company, they will share 4% of their total revenues with me for the technology licensing that we have done. It is again a very high level range based on some academic research and so forth, right? very quickly, a lot of you would go also in the careers where you will be doing the research and helping companies with the data. So patent and the trademark data can be really, really useful for tracking competition, benchmarking the competitors, understanding the industry pulse and understanding, where the industry is moving. So if you are going in those kind of roles in your careers where you have to do a lot of information research, you can also go ahead and do the use the patent data to kind of understand what is going on, what is the trademark trend. I don't know if you've seen some news articles around, okay, Apple has patented this, so this may be coming in iPhone 20 or iPhone 15, because patent is always ahead of the market. People file patent first and then they commercialize later, especially in the big organizations as well, right? So that is also kind of a forecasting tool for a lot of you who may go in the research areas of the business, right? Again, this is very, very high level that, patents can also help in offensive and defensive strategies for business. So that's how you make a bit of, invention driven or innovation driven company as well, right? And then, of course, these data can really help in the opportunity analysis, research support, looking at where the technology is moving and so forth. Again, these are really useful when you are going in kind of roles or responsibilities where you need to do a lot of data research, help the companies with their strategies and so forth. So you can also think about patent as a data source. While using Google and different sources, you can also use this patent data as a source of information and use that for helping the company in being more innovative, being more planned and so forth. How to find patents and trademarks? Typically, there is a government website for India. I'm suggesting this is a website. You can go ahead and find the trademark availability. Again, as I said, there is a very good blog article on our website. It's kind of very detailed. You can go ahead and also use that. But this is one way to find out. If you are interested to learn about patents or read a few patents, go ahead and also do a Google patent. So if you Google patents, and this is the link, !TBM is equal to PTS, it will only show you patent as a result, right? So you can use it for Google patents, right? Now, if any one of you wants to know more about patents and startups, you can email on ebook@arcticinvent.com. Someone from my team will send you a book. What is patent? What is, if you have interest to read this. As I said, you can follow the blog. There are a lot of articles around the topic. And in case of any other questions, you can, if there is any advice that you need, you can always email on info@arcticinvent.com. We will get back to you on that. And if in case some of you may have a question that, okay, I want to build a career in IP, there is a YouTube video that I have done for another conference, which is available on YouTube. You can look at what are the opportunities, what kind of people work in IP industry and so forth. So yeah, so that's it. I think I managed to finish exactly within 1 hour. So apologies for rush in the last part of the presentation, but happy to reach out, happy to help any specific questions, or we can just yeah. So that's done. Over to you, Dr. Sheetal and Dr. Sadanand.
You
Thank you
touched
so much.
the perspective, sir. Being a teacher, I'm enlightened so much, and obviously our students has got various insights. Now, especially the recent updates you mentioned about in Indian some Indian statistics and some global statistics, that was very interesting. And now I ask Swati to say a vote of thanks. Swati, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. It was a very interactive session and a session full of valuable insights for all of us. And I would like to thank my juniors and my colleagues for being very interactive and participative in the session. Thank you so much, sir, on behalf of Jaipuria Institute of Management.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you, Swati.
Thank you, Mr. Kedia. Thank you for your valuable time. Thank you so much.
All right.